I mean, he could be a top 10 receiver easy.
I got some bad news though for you. The
Oh,
touchdowns
buddy.
are
Shit.
not going to come.
What's up, Fackers? We are back with our Fantasy and Chill 101, counting down the top 101 fantasy football players for the 2020 season. Number 54 on the countdown is wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams, Robert Woods. He is our 22nd ranked wide receiver. Last year, he finished as wide receiver number 19. A few of his stats last season, he had 90 catches for 1,134 yards and 2 touchdowns on 139 targets, had 17 carries for 115 yards and 1 touchdown. He scored 190.9 fantasy points, an average of 12.7 points per game. So he kind of is coming to his own the last couple years in LA after starting his career in Buffalo. He's emerged as a top target there. He's finished as a top 15 wide receiver each of the last 2 seasons. We know that used to be a wide receiver trio there in LA with Brandon Cooks, but since he is on the Texans now, the wide receivers are down to him and Cooper Kupp is the top guys.
Super Cupper.
Cooper Cupper. And then he kind of came on strong the end of last year. He was targeted
Very
nine
strong.
plus times in 10 of 15 games last year. So in 2/3 of the games that he played last year, he had 9 or more targets. Now, the one thing you could say about his season last year, had the targets, he had the receptions, he had the yards, 3 total touchdowns. So you're hoping that those touchdowns will come up. And if those touchdowns do come up based on the rest of that production, I mean, he could be a top 10 receiver easy.
I got some bad news though for you. The
Oh,
touchdowns are
shit.
not going to come up, but if Robert Woods is your wide receiver too, he is a solid player. He's played double-digit games every single year he's been in the league. I think only less than 13 one time. I mean, he gets targets. The last 2 years, he's had over 1,000 yards both seasons with Jared Goff. And he is, I mean, you're not going to get that touchdown upside. I'm sorry. He's only the most he's had in his career is 6.
He
But
only had one thing I remember seeing, he only had 2 end zone targets all of last season. So, yeah.
yes, he's not going to be that guy. But he is so consistent. He has hands. He catches the ball. He has a chemistry with Jared Goff. But I mean, and like you just said, Cooks is out of the picture. Really, the only passing threat you have there are Higby, Cup, and maybe my boy Josh Reynolds steps in there a little bit.
He
But
gets that wide
Woods,
receiver 3 consideration this year, maybe.
yes, I'm hoping, man. I'm gonna make a killing if he performs. Got a
Those cards
bunch
will
of
go up
rookie
from like
cards.
30 cents to like $2,
Hey, what is that? I'll get Derek on that calculation. Um, I just he's a solid wide receiver too. You cannot go wrong taking Robert Woods as your wide receiver too. Rams offense, they should bounce back. I mean, Sean McVay's a genius. Jared Goff he's not a bad quarterback. They have to fix that offensive line. Drafted
Yeah.
a running back. They have Daryl Henderson there. Like I looked for the Rams to be a lot better this coming year. I think people are gonna fade him, and I think that's a mistake.
I think the biggest issue is they have to fix that offensive line because we saw Jared Goff last year seeing ghosts when they some of these teams started sending a lot of blitzes at him, and that's kind of where their offense went downhill. And then so I'm glad you brought up Josh Reynolds too. I was looking this up because I don't know why, but so they ran 11 personnel last year, 72% of the time, which means they had 3 wide receiver sets. So that probably means that Josh Reynolds is going to step in. But last year, we saw Tyler Higbee going off towards the end of the year. And that's kind of when they started throwing, these double tight ends out there. And usually if your offensive line's bad, then you want to put more tight ends in to block for you. So if it's just 2 wide receiver sets, that's obviously going to benefit more for Robert Woods because it's just going to be him and Cup out there.
Also has mentioned the carries that he had. He averages over a carry a game. He is one of the few wide receivers that still
That's
gets
true.
1 or 2 handoffs a game. So that's just an added little potential that he gets. See if he can bust an end around. He is going to add a
Total
few
sweep,
carries though.
yeah, exactly. That's how he scored the touchdown last year. I don't think he had one catch in that game. Let me see if I can find it. But he had one carry for 1 yard, and it was a touchdown.
Yeah. Who he kind of reminds me of is if you're looking about not a lot of touchdowns, a lot of targets, a lot of yards, consistent, solid guy. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Jarvis Landry, the
Yes,
stats that they put up.
I agree.
I
Solid guy. He's not gonna really explode, but he's gonna have the catches, he's gonna have the targets, he's gonna have the yards.
think Robert Woods is a
And
little bit more of a deep threat than Jarvis Landry is, but
A little bit.
But if you just straight look at the numbers, they're very
Okay,
comparable.
yeah.
But the thing is, most fantasy leagues are PPR or half PPR. And I mean, he's a monster. I mean, last year he had 32 games with 13 catches. I mean, that's 6, 7 points right there if you're half PPR. Like, very solid floor.
You brought up,
Very
I was
very
gonna say,
underrated, I feel like.
you brought up Brandon Cooks leaving, and he usually commands, like last year he missed 2 games or one, I think 2 games, yeah. But he usually commands around 100 to 115 targets. But let's also not forget Todd Gurley's gone, and
Yes.
before last year he was on the Chris McCaffrey level of getting targets out of the backfield. He was getting about 80 something a season. So
hmm
that's gonna be a lot of targets too that are gonna be gone, unless those goes to Henderson or Akers. But I don't know. That's just more targets to go around.
And their schedule doesn't really scare me at all. I mean, Dallas, Philly, Buffalo, Giants, Washington to open it up. That's not terrible.
No. So I think
You,
I
do
don't
you have
have
his ADP, Britt?
Yes, I have it right here.
That's what I was about to
45
ask.
ADP, which is a little rich because I think
Oh, you're talking about middle of the 5th round.
people are basing that a lot off of what he did towards the end of the year
Here's
last
the
year.
thing. Guess where he went last year?
Oh,
45th.
I think I drafted him, around there.
45.
So I think
His
you're getting
ADP
value
is the
then.
same as last year. Yeah, you're getting value. He's proven himself to be a very solid wide receiver 2, which is what you're drafting him as. He's not a guy that you have to. He's just like kind of brought up to Jarvis Landry, a guy you have to worry about. You draft him,
No,
you put him
yes.
in the lineup. You don't ever have to worry about him not performing. I feel like.
I
Especially in that
guess
offense, yeah.
the only thing I would say is you don't want him to be your wide receiver one, okay? Like, do not wait. And if he's there, like, there's guys going around him like Cortland Sutton or even Devontae Parker, Tyler Lockett. I would rather have or maybe not Tyler Lockett, but I'd rather have Sutton and Parker because of that potential for the touchdowns and to have a higher upside. But Robert Woods, if he's your wide receiver too, if you go like someone pretty early, Julio Jones or Michael Thomas, something like that, he is a great complement to one of those studs.
You said his ADP was what, 50? Or you said 40?
45, yeah.
45. Okay, so Cooper Kupp is going 14 spots ahead of him. But
Yeah.
is there that much upside with Cooper Kupp over Robert Woods? That's
I don't
worth
think so.
14
last year
spots.
that Cooper Kupp had on him was the touchdowns, obviously.
Yes, it was. But Cooper Cup has gotten hurt before too. And Robert Woods has been, like I said, he's only played 12 games one time, and other than that, it's been 13 and up every single season.
Yeah, that's why I'm not seeing this. Why Cooper Kupp's going 14 spots ahead. I think you're getting great value with Robert Woods, where he's going right now. If you're going to take one of these Rams receivers.
Cooper
Yes.
Kupp had a stretch last year though where he was so good. He was like
No,
wide
he was
receiver
very
2
good.
for a
Yes.
while there until he
Yes.
got hurt.
Yeah, like we said, Brandon Cooks is gone.
He is. Higby was a monster towards the end of the year last year, though. I will point that out because he should command some targets. And I don't know, people are saying Gerald Everett. I think Gerald Everett's got nothing on Higby, but we will see.
Yeah, it really depends on the packages they're going to come out with, whether or not they try to use Higbee. And I think they came out and said they're trying to use Higbee and Everett. They want to give Everett another shot, which means, like, I don't know if you're going to be running 2 tight ends and 3 wide receivers out there. So it's going to be Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. And you don't have Brandon Cooks out there anymore. So,
and see, here's the thing too. We said Robert Woods had 1,000 yards receiving. Cooper Kupp only had 1,089. He did miss 2 games, but his second, third, fourth, fifth game, he all had over 100 yards. So that's 4 straight games over 100 yards. And Cincinnati he had 220. But other than that, every single other game was under 65 yards, besides the last one. But he did have 8 touchdowns. That's the difference. That's what we're saying.
yeah. I don't, unless they somehow reinvigorate their running game, which is going to be difficult with Todd Gurley gone, they're going to have to throw the ball.
Josh Reynolds, though, 6'4", A&M's all-time leader in wide receiving touchdowns.
He didn't make the top 101. Get off, Josh.
Single season.
Didn't make the top 101, but he's definitely a sneaky name.
Rich just trying to hype up his fucking eBay card right now so he can get more money out of it.
Hey, at Crawford 2508.
Have a fucking 600% increase on value and still be worth nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be hating. They're hating.
6 times 0 is 0, Britt. So sorry to say that. Maybe we'll do a
Well,
giveaway on
one.
some.
We need to do a giveaway. We've been building that up for 2 years,
Yeah.
but yeah.
We do. I still owe Keegan his Will Fuller card for No Nut November.
Okay. I don't know
That'll be
why
a-
y'all did that.
Different video. Speaking of no nut,
Very different video.
somehow segue that into Robert Woods and finish it off, Ryan.
Hey, what about
I'll
this?
just say about Robert Woods. I think he's the perfect guy to draft. Most people have constructed their team. The first 4 rounds, they do some combination of 3 running backs and a receiver. So if you get to that 5th round and you need a second wide receiver to go with your 3 running backs, he's a perfect guy to take to fill out kind of your starters there. So Robert Woods, our 22nd ranked wide receiver, number 54 overall. Yeah.
Yep.
Robert Woods.